Namaste, good morning from the UK. I hope you are well. It's a beautiful morning here in Manchester. The sun is shining, and I'm really delighted to be with you here once again. So today I'm going to share some wisdom about conscious community and social development. And I'm feeling really called to start to share this wisdom in a really big way. So as we transition from quarantine, lockdown, into sort of no woman, no man's land, where we are renegotiating how we are going to be in the new world. We are creating the new terms of engagement for the new world, for entering, re-entering, reintegrating back into to society, into the community. And there's a lot of discussion about this. And at the same time, I'm really aware that a lot of us are visioning the new way. We are creating the visions for what this new world is. We're creating that individually, and then collectively those visions are coming together. And I've been talking a lot about clearing the path, clearing our own individual path, clearing our fear, our karma, our samskara, those energies that are creating the old paradigm based on the old identity, based on our old identity, and based on our collective old identity, based on the burdens we've been carried and the trauma we've experienced, and all that stuff which has informed the reality that we've created. And so as we clear all of that, we work on ourselves individually in this course. This situation has given us a perfect opportunity to go inwards and to clear that, so that we can clear the way and create the new way, the new world, with a new identity, with a whole new reimagined, realized, actualized beingness. And as we embody the new visions that we have, and as we're able to embody the new visions because we've cleared our old stuff, so as we embody the new vision and we beam that out, that's what the universe reflects back to us, and that's what manifests. If we beam out doubt, insecurity, judgment, then that's what is going to be created by the holographic universe, the matrix, this third dimensional relative reality is constructed by our consciousness. That's what builds it. That's what creates it. So that's why I've been talking about all of that stuff, working on our triggers, neutralizing our anxiety and our fear and our doubt. And I have a whole load of resources and videos that are available. So if you're on Instagram Live, head over to my Facebook page, Holistic Health and Wellness Community, which is where all the transmissions that I've done are just on the feed and you can access them all. They're not available publicly on my YouTube channel. They're only for you, for Tribe. So that's what we've been focusing on. So it's now time to start to talk about how we create, manifest the new way. What is a conscious community, and how do we do conscious community development? So some of you may know, some of you may not know, but I have my career, shall we say, professional kind of life, started working as a community and youth worker about 12, 13 years ago, I studied at a postgraduate level social development, particularly social policy and social development. And it was a worthwhile investment, and at the same time I felt very disillusioned by what I was learning at the university and by what I was reading and what I was hearing from academics. Because what struck me is that even in some of these courses that you go to where you're learning how to help developing nations, how to develop programs, transformational community programs, microfinance schemes, just different ways to help communities grow, come out of poverty, all that kind of stuff. Even within that realm, there is still so much structural inequality and so much imbalance. And I was very disillusioned, and I didn't really know why. I just knew that it felt kind of icky. It didn't feel great, learning from these institutions. It still felt that there was something very, I guess at the time I felt it as being quite elitist, maybe. Also, I also felt that we were being very ill-equipped as young people to go out in the world and, tell people that it's okay, to tell people how to live their lives, to tell people how to behave, how to grow, how to develop. And it didn't feel right. I was really young. I was 23 years old. And I thought, I don't even know who I am. How am I meant to go to a developing nation in Africa or in India and tell these people how they should live their lives? And so I decided to stay here in the UK with my husband, and we set up a social enterprise called Union Street Media Arts. And through our social enterprise, we started working on the ground, running creative, therapeutic, community development and youth programs. And over the years, we very much developed a specialism working with young people from marginalized communities. Young people from very socially isolated communities. And often we would be airdropped into communities that were really struggling, neighborhoods maybe that had groups of young people that were really very isolated. And we were asked to do creative and therapeutic programs of work. And we did this for many, many, many years, and we have amassed a whole load of experience, not just in designing these programs and delivering the programs, but also observing how communities work and how communities come together to do the work. And I started to understand then why I felt really uncomfortable about what I was being taught at university. It became very apparent very quickly that people in communities weren't really being consulted or spoken to or, just asked for their involvement or their opinion in the way that they wanted to, in an approach that was suitable, bearing in mind where they're at. So I later began to call this conscious community development, a model that myself and Rup have created. We've simply added the word conscious in front of community and social development because we recognize this new paradigm of consciousness, of really coming in with conscious awareness and recognizing things for what they are, understanding where people are at, and coming from a place of facilitating or guiding from a place of consciousness, from a place of conscious awareness, is really key and really important, because we've got to meet people where they're at. There's so much trauma that I've seen created unnecessarily in the community, in society, simply because of the way that we engage with people on the issues that matter to them. So going into a community and setting up a new organization, we can do that. It's beautiful, and it's coming from a beautiful place of desire, of need that we have picked up on, of wanting to really help and do good. And at the same time, we can come into that with preconceived judgments and assumptions about people, about who they are, about where they're at and what they want and what's needed. And this in itself can perpetuate pre-existing mechanisms of divide and conquer and structure, inequality, and all that kind of stuff, patriarchy, that have been in place in the community already, but also those communities themselves can be coming from a legacy of that. So we have layers and layers of this structural inequality. Some may say imperialism, neoliberalism. We're coming from, ourselves. Many immigrant communities and non-immigrant communities already have been persecuted, already have been colonized in many ways. And then we find ourselves in a community where that's then happening. More and more layers of that are being superimposed on top. So we have these simulations within simulations within simulations. And many there are many teachers who talk about, working with medicines and techniques that enable us to tap into the true nature of reality, where we can go into those deep states of meditation, and we can access different realms beyond just this 5-dimensional reality. We start to see the bigger picture, and we start to see that we're living within a kind of matrix, there are simulations within simulations within simulations. And this is one part of it, that we have these layers of experience, and some of this experience is really not great. It's been taken on as traumas. Traumatic burdens have been taken on as a result of these experiences, and this is what people are carrying. And then we meet them with our judgment about that, and that further compounds it. So we have to be really careful when we are stepping into our roles as visionary, planetary shifters and movers and shakers, workers, community workers, social workers, police officers, nurses, doctors, social workers, therapists. There are many therapists out there that I'm seeing now that are shifting naturally into doing more community-focused work, which is really beautiful and amazing and so needed in these times. And so this is why this message is coming through, because it's of utmost importance for us to recognize where our integrity can go next. So integrity for me isn't about like being a shining example of what you're talking about. So I don't think it's important that if I'm a therapist, I'm a holistic therapist, that I'm healed and I'm this shining example of what it is to be a conscious human. That's not what integrity is to me, because that's the point. We're all human and we're all on a journey, and there's no judgment. When we come out of duality and we come into this consciousness, and we stabilize into different levels of consciousness, and we reach that cosmic consciousness where we really have worked and cleared our stuff, and we don't have judgment for each other anymore in that way that's really gripping us and that's totally influencing and projecting. And when we don't have that judgment for each other, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. You can be who you're going to be, and I can be who I'm going to be, and we're going to see each other for who we are, and we're not going to judge each other for the slip-ups. So integrity isn't about that. Integrity for me is recognizing what it is that we've got to do in order to take our role seriously. So if I'm going to be a therapist, if I'm going to be a community and youth worker, then I know that there's a certain level of self-care and self-practice that I have got to stabilize into, because that's what's required for keeping me on the straight and narrow. And that might be different for you than it is for me. I might need a shitload more practice and self-care to keep me sane and keep me in my self energy and keep me kind of clear, and keep me in awareness. That is the key. The practice and the self-care is to keep us in that state of self-awareness so that we can see our blind spots and we can see where we're slipping up and we can see where we're projecting. And then we have the energy to make those corrections, to adjust the mind. That to me is integrity, is being able to see that and navigate that and being okay with that. And then putting the measures in place for professional and business or professional growth. So, what do I need to get clued up on? Or do I need to get coached on? Or what is it that I need to learn about this field of work that I'm venturing into? That for me is the kind of integrity that is aligned to this conscious way of moving forward in the world. And so bringing that into community and social development, if we're going to be creating this new way together, it's not only important that we create these conscious relationships within ourselves, so we learn to come into this conscious awareness and create that dialogue with our inner world, so that we can correct the mind and we can be here present and doing the work on ourselves. But it's important for us to be able to do that with others, so that when we're together with others, when we're navigating this new world, we're collaborating, we're developing the ideas, we're doing the physical labor, that we're able to develop conscious relationships with each other that are really coming from this place of trust and non-judgment, where we recognize each other for who we are and the skill sets that we have, and we self-organize into a system, into a beautiful system to create this beautiful reality. And magical things happen. But it's also crucial, the third aspect of this, we have the inner personal journey and responsibility, we have the conscious relationships we create with others, and then we have the actual method of engaging and creating community development. So if any of you work within this field, you will know that there are different models, shall we say, of social development, of community development. And people have come and gone in the past with these different models and ways of making sure that we're engaging with the community in an inclusive way, and that we're designing and developing programs in an inclusive way, and also in a way that's closely aligned to the need, to the issues and the problems, rather than coming in and saying, right, what I see is this is the problem and this is the problem and this is what I'm going to create in my project. We need to go into the community and really listen, really hear and know and understand the experience of people, and not just the experience in the now. It's understand where that what's mediated and perpetuated that experience, what further is compounding, what are the structural aspects in place that are creating a shall we say, a hardening of that situation. A lot of our communities are very entrenched in a way of being because of these layers of structural inequality that have just existed for time and time and time. So we've got to go in and understand that consciously, and then know how to approach that situation from a place of non-judgment, of neutrality, and from a place that's really clear of our own warped desire to help or to do based on our assumption and our judgment that people need help and they need help in a certain kind of way. We've really got to work out how it is when we create this new way, how it is we're going to come in. What are our conscious methods and our conscious tools and techniques going to be that's going to meet people where they're at in a way that they want to be met? So I have this like ground zero approach, which is like step zero, ground zero. Before you even think about what your step one is going to be, there's a step zero. And what's that step zero going to be? And the step zero is about embedding the seeds of consciousness within your approach. So before step one, how are you going to make sure that your approach is conscious and holistic and meaningful for those that are involved? What are you going to do before you even do step one? What are you going to put in place to make sure that when you do start your formal steps, that it's aligned to your values and principles of consciousness and of equality, of spirit, of all of those things that are important deep down within us and within that community? What are we going to do to make sure that all of our actions moving forward from here are aligned to that, so that we prevent colonization, we prevent further patriarchy, we prevent further hierarchy, we prevent further divide and conquer, that we stop and we cease all of that stuff from continuing forward? How do we make sure that our approach is that clean, that conscious, and that aligned to spirit, to the core values of consciousness, of that community and of us, of how we want to move forward? So ground zero is where we start, and that's where we're at now. So for any of you that is tuning into the new way, the new world, and how we're going to create it, I invite you to tune into what your ground zero is, what your step zero is. What are you going to do to clear the path and set your approach aligning to consciousness, aligning to spirit, aligning to all those values, those core fundamental principles and values of non-judgment, of unconditional love, inclusion? How are we going to prevent further colonization and structural inequality? What will our steps be, and how will we plan those steps? Will we do it alone in our bedroom and then come and announce to the world, like, I have a plan, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to help this community be a better community? Is that what we're really saying? I have the solution. Or is there another way that we can flow into this that's going to be aligned to pure energy of the need of the hour? So, juicy transmission. I have so enjoyed sharing this. I will be sharing more and more in this field. I have a particular interest in merging social community development with consciousness, with holistic health and wellness, because for me, if we want to create healthy, holistic communities that are really recognized for what they've been through and the journey they've been on and the abundance that there is there. And we're really going to show up to our communities in this beautiful, conscious way. We need to also recognize we can't really separate the health and wellness. It's like this. The health and wellness of us, of the community, completely depends on how we come into those spaces and create, how we work together to create the new way. All the businesses and the organizations and the projects that are created in those spaces are so fundamentally, inextricably linked in with our own individual health and wellness, because if we're not approaching that in a healthy way, then the well-being of our community is going to suffer, and we're going to just recreate more and more and more and more suffering and more pain for others. And that's karma that we've got to clear up, that we need to answer to at some point, and we need to work on. So let's do this. Let's start this now. Let's just cease creating any unnecessary karma. And let's approach our work in the community with that same compassion which we would approach an individual, meeting them where they're at. I hope you have a beautiful day. Please leave a comment, message me, just get in touch. I would love to hear if this is calling you, this is interesting for you. And yeah, it's really exciting to just be able to share this. At the moment, there's a lot going on here at Earth School and Earth Clinic. We have groups classes on tonight. Activate Innate Self-Healing, which is an energy meditation class at 6 p.m. GMT. I have an integrated yoga class with IFS tomorrow. This Saturday, Rup and I are delivering a beautiful workshop. So it's a satsang and a little journey, a mini journey, and a group healing, and it's called Warriors of Love. Sekhmet and Kali, we're going to be sharing the ancient sacred technologies and esoteric teachings of Kali and Sekhmet. Cosmic Breathwork is coming up in a few weeks, and we have a beautiful online course called Holistic Medicine Practitioner Training, which is all about supporting you practitioners, the ones I've been talking about today. It's about supporting you on your journey of self-care, of personal practice, of healing, of professional practice, and business growth. So if you are one of these people that's working in this area in therapy or in the community, and you're like, okay, I'm taking notice and I want to do this work, then yeah, check out on our Facebook page, Holistic Health and Wellbeing Community, which I'll post the link on the comment section on Facebook, and also on Instagram. It's on my links list. Yeah, if you want to do this work, please check out the course. It's going to give you all the support that you need. You'll get one-to-one coaching from myself or from Rup. There is going to be lots of beautiful online content, group calls, peer support. There's just an abundance of amazing, incredible resources and this beautiful journey that we'll be on together. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, and I will connect with you soon. Hari Om Tat Sat.